In the quiet suburbs of Cedar Falls, a place where everyone knew everyone, Emily Carter lived a life so ordinary that she often wished something extraordinary would happen. She just never imagined the extraordinary would come for her. Emily was 27, working long shifts as a night shift nurse, trying to rebuild her life after losing both of her parents in a tragic highway accident. Most nights were cold, lonely, and quiet. Until the night she met him. It was 2:14 a.m. when Emily saw a man standing at the hospital entrance, soaked, silent, and staring up at the flickering lights as if he had never seen electricity before. He didn't speak, he didn't shiver, he didn't blink, and yet, he wasn't threatening. He looked lost. That was the night she met Daniel Reeves, a man she would later marry. Without knowing he wasn't human, Emily led him inside. He thanked her in a soft, unfamiliar voice, like someone trying to imitate human speech. He said he had no memory of where he came from, but he knew one thing clearly. He said he had been searching for her. Emily laughed at the odd comment. She thought he was confused, maybe homeless, maybe hurt. But Daniel insisted, "I was drawn here, to you." His eyes didn't reflect the light like normal. They absorbed it, and that was the first sign she ignored. Daniel recovered quickly, too quickly, and Emily helped him get back on his feet. Within weeks, he learned things at a speed that didn't seem human. He could memorize entire books in minutes. He learned languages by listening for seconds. He lifted hospital equipment with strength far above his build. But he always hid these abilities from others, except Emily. He said he felt safe with her. That she was the only person he trusted. Emily felt the same. For the first time since her parents died, she felt alive again. But Daniel avoided hospitals, avoided police, avoided technology. He said electronics interfered with him. Emily shrugged it off. After 6 months, Daniel proposed. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't planned. He just said, "My existence feels clearer with you. Stay with me." Emily said yes. She didn't know she was saying yes to something far beyond human. The first few months of marriage were peaceful, even beautiful. Daniel was gentle, calm, extremely observant. He cooked, he cleaned, he waited for her every night after work. But Emily noticed little things. He never slept deeply. He just shut down. Eyes open, body still, for hours. When she touched him during those episodes, his skin felt cold, almost metallic. Eventually, strange things began happening. The lights flickered whenever he entered the room. Phones died when he touched them. Animals stared at him as if sensing something else living inside him. Once, she woke up at 3 a.m. and found Daniel standing in the backyard. His arms raised, as if listening to something no human could hear. When she called his name, he turned too slowly. Like resetting, and then he pretended everything was fine. Emily's love slowly mixed with fear. It happened on a rainy night. Emily had been looking for Daniel when she found him lying on their living room floor. Motionless, silent, eyes open, he wasn't breathing. Emily screamed and called 911. But the moment she touched his neck, his skin pulsed with faint blue light. She jumped back. Daniel stood up instantly, with no transition, as if powered back on. He said, "I malfunctioned for a moment. Please don't be afraid." Malfunctioned. That word stuck with her for days. She followed him the next evening. He walked into the forest behind their home. Deeper and deeper, until he reached a clearing filled with faint hums. Emily hid behind the trees and watched as Daniel slowly removed his shirt and placed his palm on a stone. The stone lit up. A symbol glowed beneath his skin. A thin circuit-like pattern running across his chest. It was mechanical, synthetic, not human. Emily ran home in shock. She knew now. Her husband was hiding something impossible. Emily confronted Daniel. His reaction wasn't anger. It was sadness. He told her the truth, or part of it. He said he wasn't exactly human. He was a constructed being, made for a purpose he did not fully understand. His memories started only a year ago. Before that, nothing. He didn't eat much, didn't sleep, didn't age. Emily asked if he was dangerous. Daniel hesitated too long before answering. "I don't want to be." She asked who created him. He didn't know, only that he was engineered to find someone. Someone whose presence stabilized him. Someone who made him feel connected. That person was Emily. She felt crushed, not by fear, but by confusion. Did he love her, or was she part of his programming? Daniel insisted he loved her in every way he understood love. But that was the first time she didn't believe him. Days later, black SUVs appeared around Cedar Falls. Strange men asked neighbors about unusual activity. Helicopters flew low at night. Emily saw Daniel standing at the window, eyes glowing faintly, whispering. "They found me." He said he didn't remember escaping from anywhere. But someone had been searching for him since the day he existed. That forest stone wasn't a stone. It was a beacon, a receiver, and now it had activated. They were coming. Emily begged him to run. He refused. "If they take me, they might take you too. You're connected to me now." Emily didn't understand what that meant. Not yet. The power went out across the neighborhood. Doors rattled. A low hum shook the air. Daniel grabbed Emily's hands. His skin was glowing, bright lines running through his arms, chest, neck. He said, "Emily, my purpose wasn't to find you. It was to protect you." Emily froze. Protect her from what? Daniel placed her hand on his chest. His heartbeat was artificial, a soft mechanical pulse. "You're the key to something bigger. Something they want. That's why I was created." Before she could ask more, the walls shook violently. Figures approached the house. Daniel lifted Emily and whispered, "No matter what happens, remember, I chose to love you. Not because I was programmed. Because you made me feel alive." He stepped outside, and the entire sky lit with white. Emily woke hours later in a hospital bed. The authorities said there was an explosion. No body was found. No intruders. No evidence. But Emily knew better. In her hand was a metallic shard, glowing faintly, that pulsed with the same energy she had once felt in Daniel's chest. He was gone, but something of him remained. And as she stared at the shard, it warmed in her palm. Like a heartbeat. 3 months had passed since the night everything changed in Cedar Falls. 3 months since the explosion. 3 months since Daniel vanished, leaving behind nothing except the shard Emily found clutched in her hand. The authorities called it a trauma reaction, a hallucination, a coping mechanism, but Emily knew the truth. Because the shard still pulsed. Like a heartbeat, it warmed whenever she touched it. It glowed faintly when she was afraid. And sometimes it vibrated with a gentle hum, like it was trying to communicate. Emily kept it hidden in a small wooden box under her bed. Nobody else could know, almost nobody, because someone was already watching her. It started with a visit from a woman who introduced herself as Agent Mara Quinn from the Department of Advanced Threat Response. She wasn't local law enforcement. She wasn't FBI. Her badge wasn't any agency Emily recognized. Her tone was calm but carried a weight that made the room feel smaller. "Agent Mara, Emily, we know what Daniel was. And we know he didn't disappear. He was taken back." Emily's heart dropped. Mara continued, "He wasn't created to protect you. You were created to anchor him." Emily stared in disbelief. Created? She was created? Mara slid a sealed file toward her. Inside were medical records Emily had never seen before, records of procedures done when she was a baby, scans showing electrical activity far beyond normal human levels, notes describing her as electrically receptive. Emily slammed the file shut. "None of this is real. My parents never." Mara interrupted. "Your parents didn't know." Then she leaned in. "You were part of a classified bioengineering project in the late 90s. Daniel wasn't your protector, he was your stabilizer." Emily's world cracked open. She forced Mara out of her home, but the damage was done. Everything she believed about her life was now in question. And that night, the shard pulsed harder than ever. Emily woke at 2:11 a.m. Her entire room was glowing blue. The shard floated, actually floating, above the wooden box. It projected something into the air. A fractured image, a face, a voice. Daniel's voice, but distorted, broken, fragmented. "I'm here, you must run." A blast of static cut the message off. Then a symbol appeared, a map marker, glowing directly over a forest about 40 miles north. Daniel was alive, or at least, something of him was. Emily packed her bag, grabbed the shard, and left before sunrise. But she wasn't the only one heading to that location. 2 black SUVs tailed her from the moment she left town. The forest was silent, too silent. Emily parked near an abandoned logging site and followed the map deeper into the woods. The shard guided her, humming louder, warming in her hand. And then she found it. Not a building, a hatch, half buried, steel, with the same circuit pattern she once saw glowing across Daniel's chest. The shard vibrated violently and flew out of her hand, attaching itself to the hatch door like a magnet. The hatch opened. Inside was a long metallic tunnel lit by faint blue strips. Emily stepped inside. She had no idea she had just entered the birthplace of Daniel. And her own origin. The facility was a graveyard of machines and broken glass tubes. This wasn't a lab, it was a testing site. Inside one room, she found files marked Project Ether, Subject Designation ANCHOR01, Emily Carter. Unit Series Sentinel-07, Daniel. Dozens of failed models filled the room, mechanical beings, incomplete, lifeless, some torn apart as if destroyed from within. Daniel was Sentinel-07. Emily was Anchor-01. Suddenly, the lights flickered. A voice echoed through the hall. Not Daniel's. Mechanical, cold voice. Anchor-01 detected. Stabilization protocol initiating. Emily froze. A figure emerged from the shadows. A humanoid machine, taller than Daniel, with red burning lines instead of blue. It was Sentinel-08. The model after Daniel. Stronger, faster, unrestrained. It scanned Emily. Primary target located. Retrieval accelerating. Emily stumbled backward, but the shard in her hand blasted a shockwave that knocked the machine across the room. The shard had reacted to protect her. But she couldn't fight Sentinel-08. She ran. Through the tunnels. Past broken prototypes. Toward the chamber the shard was leading her to. She burst inside, and there he was. Suspended. Motionless. But intact. Daniel. Emily rushed to the containment pod. Daniel was inside. Not dead, but in a shutdown state. Faint blue lines pulsed beneath his skin. The pod displayed one command. Require. Anchor signal. Emily pressed the shard against the glass. And the entire facility shook. Blue light filled the room. The glass dissolved into dust. Daniel fell into her arms. Eyes still closed, body cold. Then, a breath. Mechanical. Slow. Awakening. His eyes opened. Daniel, weak. Emily, you came. Tears filled her eyes. But there was no time. The ground shook as Sentinel-08 approached. Daniel stood, still weak but responsive. Emily asked him the question she feared most. Why were we made? What was our real purpose? Daniel answered softly. To merge. To create a hybrid capable of controlling both worlds, human and machine. Emily's heart pounded. Was she meant to become part of Daniel? Was he meant to become part of her? Before Daniel could explain, Sentinel-08 burst into the chamber. The fight was brutal. Sentinel-08 overpowered Daniel instantly, slamming him into the steel wall. Emily screamed, and the shard responded. It shot from her hand into the air, splitting into dozens of glowing fragments that circled both her and Daniel. Daniel whispered, Emily, it's happening. The fragments fused into both of them. Blue light engulfed them, their heartbeats synced, human and synthetic. Then a blast erupted outward, vaporizing Sentinel-08. When the light faded, Emily stood stronger. Daniel stood restored, their energies intertwined. Not machine, not human, something new, something the facility had intended all along. But neither of them wanted. Emily trembled. Daniel, what did we become? Daniel held her steady. Something that can rewrite everything they plan for us. As the facility collapsed around them, Daniel carried Emily through the smoke and fire. They escaped into the forest as the ground swallowed the entire lab. Emily looked at her hands. Faint blue light still tracing her skin like tiny circuits. Daniel looked at her with calm certainty. Emily, we're no longer targets. We're the only ones who can stop what created us. She took a deep breath. This wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of a war she never asked for. With a partner who was never supposed to exist.